Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. I'm joined by Mayor Mark Stodola, Mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Roby. Good to be with you.
Yeah, no, it's we've been friends for a long time. It's always good to catch up. We usually catch up on the streets of Little Rock when we run into each other or at different events. I don't get you in studio often enough, but I'm glad you're here.
But I'm happy to be here.
You've been busy. You even brought your Little Rock for Life notebook thing here. So.
Yes,
which is what I want to talk to you about. So let's go through some points on there. Let's talk first about, in general, before we get to some specifics in here, did this whole kind of problem of violent crime kind of sneak up on you, up on city leaders? Or, I mean, it just seems like it happened quickly.
Well, in the fall of last year, we began to see a spike. And of course, as we came into the beginning of this year, it continued with some increased drive-by shootings and some increased homicides. To put it in perspective, though, when I first took office the year before, there were 60 homicides in Little Rock. We're not anywhere near that number, of course. Even
this too many, as you
one is too many, absolutely. So no question about it.
What do you think is at the root of
it's
the
tragedy for the victims and the families of the victims. Yeah. And that's been really driven by a couple of extended families and their friends who, for one reason or another, they've disrespected each other, and that's caused some retaliation. It's obviously hard to stop speeding bullets. Nobody's a Superman here. Right. And consequently, we're doing everything we can to try and anticipate, to obviously look at those hotspot areas and try to make sure that we've got people in the field there. And of course, this plan that I've developed and came out with is not something that just started because of the most recent aberration of an incident, the Ultra Lounge incident. It's something I've been working on because I don't think the public gets the big picture, the portrait of everything that the city and the mayor and the city board of directors are trying to do to keep people safe.
We'll talk about a couple of the specifics in there. For starters, and there's been a lot of talk about this, more police officers.
True.
Obviously to be there to protect the streets, but also do you feel like there needs to be more in the neighborhoods doing things on a preventative basis?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we believe 21st century policing is community policing, but you can't community police unless you've got your manpower there. And so our police are responding to calls. We receive over 600,000 calls a year, and we go out on about 160, 180,000 of those calls. And if you just factor that in on a day-to-day basis, you can imagine it's a very, very busy operation.
Yeah. Why are you having problems? Why is the city having problems recruiting police officers? We've had the vacancies there. I know that there's some things in your plan to put some financial incentives in there, but I mean, have we just not kept up with the Joneses in terms of competing for that?
Well, we do, but it's a very tough job. I mean, there are not a lot of people that want to be police officers, certainly not as many as we would like. When you ask a group of citizens, you want your son or daughter to be a police officer? Very few hands in the audience are held up. So it's a tough job, and we've seen that nationally about what's happened in terms of the tension sometimes and the stress that police officers are put under. And so, and we have a very rigorous testing process. We want to make sure that we have good professionals out there. We have one of only 100 certified departments in the entire country. That's quite an honor, but it also means that we do a lot of extensive training and professionalism. And so it's a tough job, and but we've got to do better. I mean, and I have pressed on the city manager and the police chief that we're not doing enough. We've got to do more. And so that's why my plan in here is to say that we want a very aggressive recruiting plan. We're going to go out here with an advertising campaign, TV, radio, newspaper, and regionally and in the surrounding areas and states if necessary, to try and recruit some of the best officers and let them know that we've got a very professional police department that we would like them to be a part of.
And for folks who don't know, you're a former prosecuting attorney too, so law enforcement is something that you had experience with before you became the mayor. And so maybe talk about that a little bit in terms of what needs to be reformed in terms of parole, probation, and the problems that it is causing.
Well, this may sound like a broken record for those people who've heard me say this before, but you know, the probation and parole system puts an inordinate number of people on parole and probation into Pulaski County and of course into Little Rock. They get to get in the shadows of the big buildings, and it's an urban area, and so we get a lot more people being released on parole here than anywhere else in the state. The probation officers and parole officers have about double the caseload of anybody else. And so, and of course, the Department of Corrections still, after 40 some odd years, still gives them $100 and a bus ticket and a pat on the back and said, hey, don't ever commit any more crimes.
Do more than that. You got to do more than that. You want to see some jobs.
So we realize that just creates an opportunity for failure. We obviously don't want people to fail. So we've developed our own reentry programs. We're working in the prison. We've got our house that is working actually with pre-release for people that are going to be released. We've got a program with Goodwill in terms of teaching felons. And we just received a grant through my Workforce Development Board for $1.24 million from the Department of Labor to do some intensive training and skill development for 150, and we anticipate 150 people that are going to be released on parole.
What type of skills will they gain, and what type of jobs will they be prepared for? Are there openings out there?
Well, there's all sorts of jobs out here. It's just a matter of making sure people got the skill sets. There are welding jobs, there's construction jobs, there's jobs in the culinary arts, there's CNA jobs. There's a variety of jobs out here that people can get certificates for. So the real challenge is matching people up. A lot of these folks that are in the penitentiary learn a skill while they're there. As a matter of fact, one of our major sheet metal manufacturers, most of the welders that they have are people that have been released from the Department of Corrections.
Does having a felony record or a criminal record, does that impede someone from getting that job? It seems like it would with many employers.
Well, we obviously are very eager to have people give people a second chance and have businesses give a second chance. So we encourage banning the box. The city of Little Rock, we have several people that have felony records that work for us. We started the sidewalk construction program back in 2013. Very innovative program. In fact, I won a City Livability Award from the U.S. Conference of Mayors for that. A new idea, a great idea, and it's one that we certainly received some national recognition for. And that has led then for us to have people in our housing department, in our public works department, working for our parks department. We even have felons that are working with the police department. So we're trying to set an example, and we want other businesses to do that too. Not, obviously a person with a felony record is probably not going to go to work for a bank.
Right.
And there's certain other kinds of businesses that certainly wouldn't qualify. But many of these businesses that we have do have the ability to give a second chance to somebody, and we think that's very important.
Last question here. How much do you think is contributing to the problem, the fact that Little Rock's public schools are under state control and we have had such a struggle with the education system? I know that is not your daily job in terms of you're not the superintendent of the schools, you're not a principal of the schools, but as mayor of Little Rock, you have influence and you certainly have a voice in that debate.
That's true. I drafted a resolution up and had the board pass this resolution encouraging that the Board of Education set a date to return the school district back to a local school board. And it's caused dissension among friends. It's one of these festering wounds that needs to be healed. And it just holds us back, and I want people to work together. It's very important. I mean, education is the fundamental thing that we've got to have for our kids for them to succeed. If they have a good education, if we can keep them in school, if we can give them a mentor, a role model, to be able to look toward and to understand what it is to be responsible and to respect people and, in fact, respect themselves with an education, then they're going to succeed in life. And so it's so very, very important that our school system be together and that we work together. It really is part of the bigger picture of what the city is all about.
Have you gotten any inkling that there is a date that may be coming?
Well, I have been visiting with each one of the school board of education members, and I've been getting some good discussion, and I believe there's some progress being made in that area. No one's willing to put a date on it, but at this point in time, but they're very open to the discussion, and I think they're very appreciative that the mayor is visiting with them and telling them how important it is to the city collectively, as you pointed out.
Yep. All right, so I said that was the last question, but I'm asking you one more because there is an election next year. You already have somebody that has indicated they're going to challenge you for that post, and you have said you're not really ready to talk about running for re-election yet because you want to deal with some of the problems that are part of the current job right here. But when are you going to want to start talking about the election?
Well, I think if I do a good job, the people are going to hopefully reward me and understand that. We have done transformational things in the city during my administration. Everything from the renaissance of Main Street and the Creative Corridor, which has won 11 different national and international awards, to the Tech Park. I just got awarded as an outstanding mayor in support of small businesses nationally. I held the Mayor's Summit on Entrepreneurship. We've got a tremendous sustainability commission. We're doing very, very progressive things in the city, and we are held out really as a model nationally. So I'm working on doing my job as mayor. And when it's time to run an election, we'll be there. We're going to be ready. I'm looking forward to a robust debate. We've got lots of activity. We got lots of things to talk about that we're proud of, and I'm going to let the voters have a chance to hear about that.
Next time you're on the show, I want the jacket off. I want the sleeves rolled up.
All
I want
right,
to see
that too.
Working man Mark Stodola ready to run there. So thank you so much, Mayor. Good to visit with you as
Okay,
always.
Robbie.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
That is all for today's program. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.